souvenirs.
Hello, we've got a jam-packed episode of Podemup for you this time. We'll be talking about the EGX Gaming Expo in London, where I got hands-on with Sonic Frontiers and various other lovely indie games. We'll also, of course, be talking about this month's book club pick, Stray, for PS4 and 5 and PC.
Welcome to episode 46 of Podemup. My name's Tibbs. With me is...
Ollie. That's me.
There we go. I thought I would do the intro this time because it's always you that does it.
It is, yeah.
Now I'm realising why it's always you that does it. Because that was rubbish. But it's done. So let's move on.
No, it was alright. I thought that was quite reasonable.
That's alright, I suppose.
Yeah, not bad.
Could have used a bit more gusto, but...
Well, I can edit it a bit to make it sound like you got a bit more gusto.
Yeah, put a bit of, like echo on it, like I'm in the Royal Albert Hall.
I'll add 20% more gusto and
Yes.
an echo, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, we're Podemup. What are we doing today? Stray. Cats, mostly cats, yes.
Yeah.
Very cat-themed episode. We'll be doing that later. I've also got to talk about EGX, which I went to yesterday.
You did, yeah.
Had a thoroughly good time there as well.
Oh, good.
But first of all, I want to hear what you've been playing.
I've been playing all little bits and bobs. Like the rest of the world, I've been playing a bit of Trombone Champ.
Yeah, I've heard about this, but I don't know really anything about it.
It's just a very silly, fun game. It's like a rhythm game where you play trombone. So you've got like a little bar down the left-hand side of the screen, and you've got you use your mouse to just move up and down, and as the trombone notes come across, you click, or you can press a button on the keyboard. So you just have to like move your mouse up and down to the right positions as the notes come across and click. But it blows the trombone every time you click, so you're playing like this, the song, and it's just going like. It's really good. Only played it for a bit because it doesn't work so well with it. You need a proper mouse for it, because I was playing it with a trackpad on the laptop. It doesn't work very well like that. So I reckon if you get a nice proper mouse with it, get a nice proper expensive luxury gaming mouse, treat yourself.
Yeah.
Get one of those ones with the flashing lights on it. Oh, you'd have a whale of a time playing the trombone. But yeah, so I haven't played enough of it to give a full opinion on it. I don't know how much it will continue to be fun once the joke wears out. But yeah, that's pretty good. I also played a game called ReCore.
Yeah, I know the name of this.
I think it's quite an old game. Oh, I say quite old. I think it was around. It was one of the early Xbox One games, I think. It wasn't launched, but it was around that time. It's kind of I think the kids call it a looter shooter. You sort of...
A looter shooter?
Yeah, you like go around, you shoot things, and all the enemies will drop like a selection of loot that you collect up, and then you can use that to modify your weapons and armor and things like that.
Hmm.
And you have to go around the world collecting little bits and bobs. It's quite a good game. It was critically ignored. Got very sort of average reviews. No one bought it really. And it's a shame because I think it was. I get the feeling from it that it was intended to be the start of a series, and it just never went anywhere. They never made a second one. But you wander around this sort of. You've woken up on this desert planet, and it's inhabited by evil robots, and You've got a good robot who's a little dog who goes around with you, a little robot dog, and you've got to go around and investigate what's happening, and by collecting you need to collect these little spheres, these power cores, to power up your ship and modify your weapons. And as you start collecting them, you start piecing together what's happened to this planet and why you're there and what's happening. It's quite good. I didn't complete it because it's similar to the situation I had with Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Oh yeah.
I got to the end and I just couldn't be bothered with it.
I've had that with a few games. You kind of
Yeah.
get to the end and it's a bit tough, and
Yeah.
you kind of feel like, well, I've pretty much seen the whole game now, really. Do
Precisely.
I need to push it right to the end? Am I that invested in it? Probably not. I could just look it up on YouTube if I'm that bothered. So I've done that with quite a few games. Yeah.
That is exactly the situation. It's like because the thing is, it's not a spoiler to say because it's kind of obvious from you get to what you think is the final boss, like what's been built up as the bad guy, the big bad. You get him
Yeah.
quite early, and you think, oh, that can't be the game's not going to finish there, surely. And it doesn't. It turns out that literally you haven't killed him. He's just gone upstairs. He's just gone up a few floors in this building. So you have to go back into the world, collect some of all these cores to unlock the next floor. So I did that, and there's a few really sort of tough boss arenas. Is they sort of you work your way up this building, doing sort of platforming tasks, and using all the skills you've learned to navigate these tricky areas, and then you get locked into a boss arena where you have to take on like a series of bosses at once, and then when you've done that, it will unlock and let you on to the next bit. And I was getting really stuck on like this. I think it was the third or fourth of these boss arenas, and I was just thinking, have I missed something? Because I'm having a really hard time with this. So I looked up a walkthrough just to see if there's any strategies or any good tactics. And it turns out that after I'd finished this boss fight, it turns out I get to the floor where I thought he was, and he's gone upstairs again. So you then have to go back out into the world, collect more of the spheres, come back in and do the whole lot again. I was like, no. It's a good game. I enjoyed my time with it, but that's plenty.
Yeah.
So I ditched it there. And the other one I've been playing is a bit of Wolfenstein, the reboot they did a few years ago. Wolfenstein: A New Order.
Yeah.
It's good. It's very depressing.
Yes, it looks depressing. Yeah.
Oh, it really is. It really is. But it's good if you like that sort of thing. If you're looking for a good shooter with a good little story on it. But it's very bleak. Very bleak. And the thing is, I know because I know they've done 2 sequels to it at least. So I know that it's not going to have a good ending, is it? It's obviously not going to. He's not going to beat the Nazis and everything's happy at the end because there's 2 sequels. So.
That's the slight flaw with doing things later on, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah. It would be a lot easier. It would be a lot more palatable if you knew at the end he was going to, beat. I mean, why? I don't know because I know in the original Wolfenstein they had like Cyborg Hitler, didn't they?
They did, famously, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if he's going to make an appearance in the game. It'd be great if he did.
It would be. I have a feeling he might not. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe that's what they're building up to. Maybe in like the third game, the most recent one, you finally get to fight
Cyborg Hitler. It's funny. It brings up a point I heard on the Sonic the Comic, the podcast lately, and they were doing a fairly famous strip on the internet in which Tails. This sounds ridiculous, but Tails meets a magic unicorn who takes him off to this dream world where he gives him a gun and says you can shoot Robotnik.
Oh, I saw that on Twitter.
Yeah. And they were saying how people were quite surprised by this and on Twitter, more recently. But they said, although it is a weird story, in those days you could reference things like that JFK thing because it was set up like a JFK assassination thing. You could reference things like that and things like put Hitler in Wolfenstein, and that was just part of things like popular, like history got into popular culture and games and media and things in a way that you don't see so much now for some reason. Like you can't imagine them putting Hitler in a modern Wolfenstein, but they could get away with it in the olden days. And there's something they suggested it might be 9/11. That's the turning point where something huge happened that suddenly it felt wrong to put real things into media. But it's an interesting.
It is interesting how approaches to historical events like that have changed in terms of entertainment. Because I remember when the first Medal of Honor game came out on the PlayStation 1, a lot of the magazines at the time were, there were a couple of think pieces about, is it moral or ethical to turn World War II into a video game? Is this something we should be doing in games? I know there's bloody loads of them. You can't move World War II shooters.
Yes, there are a lot of them. Yeah.
So
do they always
how attitudes change, isn't it?
Yeah. Do they always refer to the Nazis in those? Like, I'm sure I was years and years ago. I was watching my cousin play one of the earlier Call of Duties, maybe 3 or 4, and they referred to them as the fascists, and I don't think they referred to them as the Nazis. Is that a thing, or maybe I was making up?
I will preface this by saying I could be talking utter nonsense. I could be making this up entirely. But I'm fairly sure that in Germany there's laws that forbid
you're right,
any reference to the Nazis or like their iconography or things like that in media.
I've heard of that, yeah.
So I wonder if it may be like, to save... doing 2 different versions and swapping out textures and dialogue and things. If you just call them the fascists, it just saves time when you're publishing the game worldwide, maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I remember, I'm pretty sure they called them Nazis in the original Medal of Honor. It's been a long time since I played it.
Yeah.
But they also had, you could play as Bismarck the dog in a multiplayer shoot-'em-up section of it. So,
right.
How accurately they reflected, the time period is up for debate, really.
Yes.
But yeah.
Okay.
What have you been playing?
Well, nothing really. Because I've got plenty.
Let's move on, then.
Well, I've got plenty to talk about from EGX, so I thought I'd focus on that because I haven't really because my eyes were quite bad for about 3 weeks after we did our last show, so I couldn't really play anything during that time, and after that I've just been playing Stray. So nothing else that I haven't already talked about on previous shows, really.
Okay.
So EGX, it was great. It was just it's in this XL Centre in London, which is this massive new complex for these sorts of conventions and things. Really big, long hall, loads and loads of stands there. I've been a couple of times in previous years. I think in 2013 and 14, I think it was. But one of the key differences between then and now is the relationship between indies and the big games, because back then it was mostly big games and the indies were in a little corridor somewhere just off the side. Now it was mostly indie games, which is really cool to see. Obviously you had Sonic Frontiers, you had Street Fighter 6, whatever the new Call of Duty is, a couple of others. Nintendo had a booth, but that was all just their current games. But everything else was just sort of indies, really, and it's great to see because I hadn't really seen hardly any of them before. So I was just going through all the indie stands, and there was loads and loads of them. I've got a few that I'll list in a minute that I played and particularly stood out to me. But yeah, it was really good. There's a retro section as well, so they had all that, pretty much every console and 8-bit machine and old computer that you can think of to set up there with a game on it.
Yeah, the last time I think I've only been to one. I went when it was still called Eurogamer.
Yes,
I've
yeah.
mentioned it before. It was the year when they gave out the live
Oh,
streaming
yeah,
console
yeah, yeah,
things.
yeah.
And I went to I spent a bit of time in the retro section because I was big into Street Fighter 4 at the time. I was getting really into Street Fighter 4, and they had Street Fighter 2 there.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, I'll challenge someone to Street Fighter 2. I
Yeah.
fancy myself a bit tasty,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Got absolutely trounced. Absolutely trounced.
Yeah.
Really put a dampener on the afternoon, if I'm being honest.
That's probably why I didn't try Street Fighter 6 here, because
Yeah.
well, on the one hand, I wouldn't know any what's different from Street Fighter 5 because I'm not very good at it. But I'd probably someone will probably sit next to me and just completely destroy me.
Yeah.
So it
But
wouldn't be very
it's
fun.
good, those little retro areas, though.
Yeah, they're really good. The only thing I would say is that they should, and they've had this before, the same issue. They don't have any like labeling of what the console is and what the game is. If you know it, that's fine. But there's otherwise no real context to it.
Yeah.
Like there was one, and I'm sure I've seen this machine before. It appeared to be a PlayStation. It had Sony written on it. I think it was playing a King of Fighters game, and it had a PlayStation DualShock controller. But it was like a white box, fairly big, almost like a bit bigger than a Sega Saturn. But I couldn't figure out what it was.
Like a square box.
Sort of squarish, a bit smooth around the edges. Didn't look like.
It could have been the PSX, that Japanese
yeah.
DVR video recorder, digital video recorder combo thing that they released.
Yes, I think now you say that, I think it might have been. But it would have been nice to just have that saying that this is a PSX, a version of the PS1, something like that. So, and there's various other 8-bit machines as well, that I recognise most of them, but not everyone will. Like Dad bringing their kid to try on a retro machine. But it might be quite nice to know what the game is and what the machine is. But yeah, and also those old machines, some of them had CRTs and they looked the best, but obviously a lot of them had just monitors and things, and it was all stretched out. It wasn't 4:3, and it wasn't the ideal way to play it. It can be difficult to get all the right monitors for, because there's a lot of them there. Getting a CRT for all of them might have been a bit difficult these days. But
not EGX. They got. You should have been flipping tables at that point.
Yeah, I should have been.
Really kick up a stink. What is this?
Yeah.
This is disgusting. Flip a table.
Cause a scene,
yeah. When the security comes over, grab him by the little lanyard. Look at it.
Look at this. Just shove his face in the monitor. Yeah. Incidentally, I didn't go for the press pass in the end. The form was just far too long to fill in.
Oh.
And it didn't actually allow you to cut any cues or really do anything special, so I just didn't bother in the end.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah. So anyway, when I went in, I made a beeline for Sonic Frontiers. Obviously, the queue wasn't bad. It was about half an hour at that time. I liked it. It was very good. The thing about the demo is that you have to do the tutorial sequence first, because obviously there's a lot of new moves, things to learn. Obviously you've got to learn how the structure of the game works. So that takes about 10 minutes, but it's a timed demo. It sort of lasts between 10 to 15 minutes. It doesn't really cut you. It'll sort of cut you off at a good, say you just finished a boss, it'll probably cut you off there. But you spend most of that time doing the tutorial, and it leaves you in the open world at the end of it, but you don't really get more than 2 or 3 minutes in there, which is where the real meat of it is.
Yeah, that's an odd decision.
Yeah, it is a bit. I can see why they didn't want people hanging around for too long doing it, and you have to take them through the steps first. So it's a difficult one. But they did have loads. They had loads and loads of stations there. They had at least 25, 30 stations there. Yeah. Because obviously you sit there for quite a while, so they wanted to keep it going. So it was good in that sense. But yeah. So the first time I played it twice. The first time I played it, I only got through the tutorial, and it just cut off as I was going to the open world. I didn't, because when I was looking at what people were playing, they were all during that tutorial thing. So I figured it must end at the end of the tutorial. So I didn't really rush myself through it. But as I was queuing up for a second time, I saw people doing stuff in the open world bit, and I thought, oh, if you push on really quick and skip cutscenes and things, you can get there. So I did that in the end, and ended up fighting that. I think it's called Ashura, the big tentacle boss.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only thing I did in the open world, really. I should have gone for a third time to have another go at it, but as you only get like 2 or 3 minutes of it, I thought, it's probably not worth it. But what I played, I really enjoyed. The controls feel really good. I would say, because they've got the boost button on the trigger now, so it feels like a better version of the Sonic Lost World control setup. It's where you have to hold the trigger to run. So the movement is a bit, the without boost movement is a bit faster than Lost Worlds, a bit more fluid, but it's not too fast that you'll fall off things really easily. And then you've got the boost where it's quite a controllable boost, so it feels good. It feels really nice to control. The combat felt pretty good. The homing attack now works just when you're standing, rather you don't have to jump straight, so you can sort of dash straight to an enemy, and if you keep tapping it, you'll sort of be in the air and keep hitting them and stuff. So it feels really good, actually. It's one of those things you have to feel really to get a sense of how enjoyable it is. But yeah, I quite enjoyed it, and you can obviously, using Sonic Speed, you can dash around them to avoid stuff and then go in for the attack. So it was good, and obviously there's a skill tree that you unlock more stuff, so I kind of wanted to see what else you unlock later on, but obviously couldn't get that far.
I know you've got an aversion to skill trees in general.
I do have an aversion to skill trees. I don't really like them, but I like the idea of unlocking new moves and seeing what they do, so I'll accept it on this occasion, I think. You got a little go on the cyberspace stages. There's a Green Hill one hidden right behind you when you start. You also get a Sky Sanctuary one during the tutorial. They're pretty much what you expect, really. They play just like any boost Sonic. But to be honest, because it's mostly a tutorial, I find it difficult for anyone to come away with extremely positive or extremely negative reactions to it, just because of what was in the demo. But But
because I think the thing everyone wants to know is how well the open world stuff is going to work, and if you didn't get a chance to really get your teeth into that, then
no, that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people have been playing it and getting that far and trying different things, because I think it opens up quite a lot, to be fair, if you can get that far, and you can do a lot of different things when you get there. And so if you look at, there's loads of videos online of people doing different things and finding different little missions and things, and they look pretty cool. But I mean, it's only a month and a half till the game comes out, so we'll all find out how it plays then, I guess. But I mean, it's increased my excitement for it. I was already getting pretty excited about it anyway, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, it's a very different Sonic game. I think if you're going to accept it, you have to accept that it's trying things in a very different way.
I've got no problem with it taking a completely different route. I mean, we've said before, like Sonic Lost Worlds took a completely different route to previous games.
Yeah.
And I've played a bit of that since as well. I haven't actually picked that up, so haven't put too much time into it yet. But yeah, so I'm not against Sonic taking a different direction. I just think Sega mishandled it. I just think they really shot themselves in the foot with the way they unveiled it, and I just don't know what they were thinking. My default position on anything Sega do is I don't understand their thinking.
Yeah, we do say that a lot, don't we?
Yeah. But yeah. I'm sure it'll be an interesting game. Good or bad. I think we'll have a lot to talk about when it comes out.
Definitely, yeah. I think it'll all hang on how well they structure those open worlds, and how much there is to do, and how the variety of things you can do and things like that. So we'll only know that when it comes out.
Because there's one thing I hate when something's described as an open world game as if that's meant to be a good point in and of itself. And it's like, how many open world games have you played where it's open world, but it's just empty space. It's just miles and miles and miles of nothing to do in these spaces.
Oh it is a bugbear of mine. From what I've heard, I think there is quite a lot to do. Everywhere you look, there's all sorts of stuff. So yeah, hopefully that won't be the case here.
Yeah, well, I mean, you haven't come away from it saying, "Oh God, it's awful."
So, no, not at all.
That's pretty cool. So yeah,
it feels, whether you're on board with some of the directions or not, it feels like they are really trying this time. Do you know what I mean? Like they've previously said that they are shooting for good review scores, which is an odd thing for any game company to say, because of course they're shooting for good review scores. But
yeah.
I think there's been times in the past where they just want to get a Sonic game out. So it's good to know that they're at least pointing things in that direction anyway.
as a surgeon, I'm looking to really make sure the patient survive this operation. That's our aim. So fingers crossed, guys. Fingers crossed.
Let's keep this one alive this time. Yes. So another game I really enjoyed that I'd never heard of until I got to it was a game called Gory Cuddly Carnage.
I saw you tweet about that. I haven't looked it up yet, but I caught my eye because there's another cat on it.
Exactly, it's another cat. I saw a cat and I thought, oh, that's a bit like Stray, but when you see it, that's where the similarities end. When I was going around EGX, it's usually organised by like the publishers of the indie games. So this was done by Wired Productions, and they had just a load of their games out in a sort of booth. I stood there waiting. I got on there eventually. So it's gameplay wise, so you imagine Jet Set Radio but structured as a linear platformer. Kind of feels like 3D Sonic in a way. You're sort of going doing some wall running, grinding, that kind of thing. By the way, you're a cat on a hoverboard, right? A talking hoverboard. Okay. But it also splits into hack and slash sections. So it's kind of a Jet Set Radio style platformer with a hack and slash bits, and it's good. I think I preferred the platforming to the hack and slash. It was okay, but it just got a little bit repetitive. Those bits that I played, you fight these kind of zombie unicorns, and there was like a good 5-minute stretch where I was just fighting the same enemy, like hundreds of instances of that enemy. Which gets fun for a bit, but after that point you're like, can I do a bit of platforming now? So I'm hoping that the balance will be addressed as you get more moves and you get different enemies and things. But it's also got the sort of the same irreverent humour as Lollipop Chainsaw does. So it's very sort of adult themed. It's it's got swearing in it and things like that, and these sort of outlandish characters, good scripts, good dialogue and everything. So it was very striking, a very colourful game. And I really like that. I mostly like the platforming bits, to be honest, because they were very forgiving. Like you could leap from wall to grind rail, and say the grind rail in most games I was sort of heading for a trajectory that I would miss that grind rail, but I think if you just press A at the right time you'll get on it, and it was quite forgiving in that sense. You could hop from one thing to another really easily. So it felt really smooth and transitioning from one thing to another. So
when nice. You say like it's like Jet Set Radio, is that like, are you talking in terms of gameplay, or is it like cel shaded like art style and stuff as well? No,
gameplay wise, okay. I was really just say, if you imagine Jet Set Radio but as a sort of a linear platformer, that's kind of the gameplay style, quite and sort of with the sort of smoothness of Sonic being able to go from one thing to another, and sort of that general sort of sense of speed as well. Yeah, it's good. I'd recommend checking it out. I sat there for quite a while doing it, actually. It took me, because I got a bit stuck at the beginning and I couldn't work out what to do, so it ended up taking me like 26 minutes at the end, it said. I felt a bit guilty because there was clearly people waiting behind me to play, but I was just, because at one point I got beaten by the boss and I thought, shall I give up then? Because it's clearly like the last boss of the level, and I thought, no, I'm going to carry on, just finish it off. It was a good moment in the afternoon. It was nice. So yeah, I'd recommend going and checking that out. That is, if you missed the name at the beginning, it's Gory Cuddly Carnage, and it's coming out on everything next year. Another game I saw that had quite a big promotion. They had this big model thing in the middle. It's called Planet of Lana. I have seen it. Well, yeah, I've seen it a little bit on Twitter beforehand. Very pretty 2D puzzle platformer, sort of set in a nice green rural environment, blue sky. You're a child with a little blobby black sidekick that you can command in order to solve puzzles and progress. So you can tell them to go over there and pull this thing, and you can do that. Gameplay wise, probably nothing you haven't seen before, but it's just nicely presented. Just looked nice. Played nice. People seem to enjoy it. Another one I quite liked was Wave Tale. So it's quite a sort of an open 3D platformer, but again, and it looked really nice. You could ride along the water, and the waves had a really nice sort of undulating effect. It felt really good to sort of ride across them. But the controls for the character, I got a bit stuck trying to figure out what to do, so I was just sort of roaming around aimlessly. But the controls felt really, really nice. Like the moves you can do, when you play a 3D platform, it just feels really nice. You sort of you jump and you can float quite far. You can really go quite fast along the water and leap high into the air. Things like that just felt really, really good. So that's one to look out for. And there was just various other little things. I just had little goes on here and there. I got to go on Eastward, which was it's a game that's already out. I mentioned it before in an incoming indies. It's like a very beautiful pixel art Zelda, top-down Zelda-like. So I finally got to go on that. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, it does really sound like indies are sort of the main attraction there.
Definitely.
Compared to, because, like I say, I mean, whenever it was I went, like, I think the big game out at the time then was... Oh, I don't even remember. I can't remember. I know Rage was there, the id Software game.
Yeah.
Sort of first-person shooter. I know there was a WWE game coming out. There was a Sonic game coming out. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been Generations.
Oh, right, okay.
I can't remember. But yeah, it was all like there were a few indie games there, but it was basically like a small British E3 rather than a sort of an indie showcase. So it's really nice to see that indie developers are getting that kind of position in the market now. That they're able to go to big events like that, and people are going to see them. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it seemed to be a lot of the publishers doing that. Really, they had a small section for I think it was fairly unpublished kind of games, and they weren't any sort of smaller in scale, the games really, but it was just it was literally just like a corridor, very blank walls with some like laptop set up and barely anything associated with it. But the rest of the sort of indie booths seemed to be controlled by the publishers and things that could they've got the power to go to an expo like this and bring stuff. So I guess that if you're an indie developer, that's one of the advantage of going with a publisher, I guess.
Yeah,
they can really sort of promote it to people. But yeah, I as I said, I've been a couple of times around the same sort of time, and there was you're right, it was like a mini E3 beforehand where you could just play. They even had like the new Nintendo games there and things like that. So it in terms of that, it was much more scaled down. But if you're into indies, it was a great place to go and check out and see what's going on. Really, really good.
Yeah. I mean, I think the indie scene at the moment is a lot more exciting than what's going on in the AAA space at the moment for my money. Oh yeah,
you go through these corridors and one game is completely different from another, and it's like ideas you've never seen before. Very striking. There's a few sort of standard, like life sims and things like that, and things that you can clearly see the lineage from other games and things like that. But it's it's very striking, like the amount of colour and quirky characters and things that you'd see around every corner. Compared to what you would see if it were all AAA stuff, sort of dark and moody and same sort of games, really.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's great, yeah, really good. They had a nice merch section, so loads and loads of stands. I bought a little cuddly Kirby toy for Alice because I wanted to bring her something, which she was very happy about. And
sweet.
Yeah, so that's a really nice thing. So there's a little bit of some retro games you could buy there as well, things like that. But I'm just reminded of how much those prices are going up for those sort of things. And I'm like, not this time.
No.
So it's great. And in the retro section, I got to go on the original sort of moving cabinet of Outrun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I've never tried it before. Feels really good. It literally just tilts to the left and right as you turn the corner. But yeah, there's something about it just feels really, really good.
Yeah, there's a little place we used to go on holiday all the time, and I think I probably mentioned it before. They had like a little arcade there. It's like a fairly crummy little amusement park, standard little rides and things, but there was like a little building in the middle, and they had an arcade in there, and they had all sorts in there. And they had in there when I was a kid. I can't remember what it's called. Is it Galaxy Quest? Galaxy Quest 2?
Galaxy Force. Is it
Galaxy
2?
Force?
It's like rail shooter sort of thing, like an old version of a rail shooter, 2D.
Yeah, and there's like a planet. It's got like a tunnel that goes through the planet, and you sort of fly through it and shoot things as you go around. They had that there with a moving cabinet. That's the only time I've ever been on one of those Sega moving cabinet things. I was rubbish at the game, but I enjoyed it just because you were going left and right and stuff. It
transforms the experience quite well, doesn't it? Yeah, really good. They also had the Space Harrier one there that was supposed to move, but it didn't. I think the gears had long run out, and it was static. But I had a go on that as well. That was really good. So yeah, that's like the other thing. A load of arcade machines in there. So I just jumping from one of those to the other. Some really nice stuff going on there.
I miss arcades like that, man.
I
miss proper arcades.
Oh, you look at them and they give off a certain buzz that you just can't find anywhere else. You can't emulate it. There's something really special about it. Those sort of slightly sticky, overused buttons and joysticks, and the glow of the CRT. I wish I did it more as a kid. I didn't go to arcades very much. I really did. It's one of my big gaming regrets that I didn't go to arcades more and experience that thing when it was very common. But there are places you can go to that just have it's just old arcades, and you go in and you pay at the door, and it's all free play. There's a few popping up around the country in the last few years that you can go to. Yeah. So they're still around.
It's that atmosphere though, isn't it? It's that ambience of the old arcade. The sticky carpets and cigarette burns on the arcade cabinets, and it's the whole thing. You can't, you go in these new ones and it's all really polished and nice, and it's like this.
Yeah.
No, I want the old. I want it to. You go in there and the whole place stinks. I love it.
Yeah, that's what you want from an arcade. It to stink like hell.
You want it to stink. And the big box on the wall that you put a £5 note in, and it'll give you chung 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 in 20p's.
Well, they still have those, I think.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, I think that's all I've got to say about EGX. Really, just had a really, really good time.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, highly recommended for anyone to go. I guess they're doing it again every year now.
Yeah, I think it's a yearly thing, isn't it, EGX? Well, I think was it postponed during the global event?
I believe it was postponed during the global events. Yeah, I don't think it was on last year or the year before, obviously.
I'm pretty sure it'll be back annually now.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, highly recommended. News. Have we got any news? There's a couple of things, but I don't really have much to say about them.
No, not really. I suppose the GTA 6 leak.
Oh, yeah, I've got that list as well. I did see that they've caught the guy who did it. It's like a 17-year-old teenager, isn't it? From London. Yeah.
I'm just not impressed by everyone's going like, oh, it's the biggest leak in history.
Yeah.
It's like it's nothing. It's
not
nothing.
Really.
It's absolutely. What do we know from these leaks now that we didn't know about GTA 6 before? We know the names of the characters. That's it. Everyone knew it was going to be set in Vice City. Everyone knew it was going to be a male and a female character. Everyone knew, literally the only new information is the characters' names, as far as I can tell.
I guess just to look at it as well was significant, I suppose. But it kind of looks like what you expect it to look like, really, doesn't it?
It's like GTA.
It does. Yeah. It does. I know. I mean, in terms of the biggest leak ever, what about those massive Nintendo leaks where they just leaked old files of loads and hundreds of games, and
exactly.
They found sprites that were never used and all sorts of crazy stuff like that.
Or going back in the day, the Half-Life 2 leak, or the Doom 3 leak, the whole source code leaked, and people compiled the game before it was even released.
Well, supposedly that's
leak ever.
Supposedly that's what this guy had, the source code, didn't he? He's going to use threatening to leak it unless they paid him loads of $1 billion or something.
Yeah.
So well, they caught him anyway. So yeah, that's that. We had a Nintendo Direct, didn't we?
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah.
We did.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, the Farming Simulation Direct. Yeah.
Farming Simulation Direct. Farming Simulation and Anime JRPGs Direct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
there wasn't much in it for me. I've got to be honest.
No, I mean, I was hoping for a lot more than we saw on the new Zelda. They saved it till the end, and
right at the end.
Right at the end, we got a title, we got a release date, a short new trailer showing hardly anything really, and that was it. And I was like, oh. Okay.
What's the title?
I can't even remember. It's something like Tears, something of the Tears, like Tears of the something.
Tears of the Mongoose or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. I saw an article, right?
Yeah.
Nintendo. This is honest to goodness. This is what the headline is, not verbatim, but this is what the essence of the headline was.
Yeah.
Nintendo confirms the pronunciation of the new Zelda title. As if there were people who were really thinking it's Tears of the Mongoose or whatever the title is. Do you know what I mean?
I love that they've got to come back and say, okay, all right, stop. What we mean tears, all right?
It's tears.
It's
like,
tears.
Like crying, like...
It's tears, you idiots. You know, come on.
Just
ruin everything now. You ruin the whole thing.
The mind boggles.
Nintendo just really kicked something over. Honestly.
But yeah, besides that, I don't think there was anything in there that really, got my juices flowing.
Pikmin 4. Do you like Pikmin?
I don't mind Pikmin. It's an enjoyable little game, but it's not something. It's not like, oh, stop the presses. It's Pikmin 4. You know, I'll take Pikmin 4, no problem. But it's not like a super. I'm not pre-ordering it or anything.
Nah, me neither. I suppose it's nice to see them dipping back into something that they haven't done for a little while, rather than just do here's more Mario, here's more Kirby, here's more Zelda, here's more Fire Emblem. They keep doing it and do loads and loads of, like, every single Nintendo Direct seems to be some sort of new Fire Emblem, doesn't it?
Oh, they're mad for it.
And they look increasingly unapproachable to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get the appeal.
No.
It's just not for me.
But the thing is that there's so many other games in every Nintendo Direct that look just like that, like loads of anime JRPGs with people with British accents just running around with hardly any clothes on, and it's just that they all look the same to me.
Yeah.
They all look the same. They all look very unapproachable and probably take 50 hours. And Nintendo Direct seem to be targeted at very specific people these days, like people who love that sort of game or who love farming sims. And they don't really seem to include a lot of variety of other stuff.
No, I mean, would have been nice to hear something about Metroid.
Yeah, Metroid Prime 4, which you told us about years ago. And a couple of years ago, they said they're going to ditch it and start again, basically. And that's all we've heard from since. And that was
a little progress update, just like,
something, a teaser, something would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, anything. A new F-Zero would that'd hit the spot.
It would, it really would. Everyone keeps saying that, but I was reading something the other day that futuristic racers are quite niche into, the people who love them really love them, but for some reason they don't appeal to a mass audience, so I think that's probably why Nintendo don't bother anymore.
I gotta think they appeal to more people than another bloody Fire Emblem.
Yes,
surely.
I mean, look at who's
if
how many people are playing those games? I mean,
that's what I mean. You imagine, like, average, just the average casual gamer who's just looking across the shelves for something to buy. They see something like Wipeout, and they see something like Fire Emblem 17. Rise of the Corn Cob or whatever.
These names you're bashing out are brilliant. I love them.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? I think 9 out of 10 people would pick up Wipeout thinking, "Oh, that looks a bit like a spaceship. That'll be all right."
Yeah, I know.
But I don't know. I mean, it's making them lots of money, so they're obviously doing something right.
It's clearly working because they keep doing them. They must be selling like bucket loads of them. So, and they did another Xenoblade Chronicles 3, didn't they? So
yeah, they did. Yeah.
All right. If it works, fine. But save something else for the rest of us who don't like that sort of thing, really. But
did you play Xenoblade Chronicles 2?
Yeah, I played about 3 or 4 hours of it, and I got overwhelmed by all the tutorials. I quite liked it up until that point, until it was like, oh, here's this battle mechanic. Oh, and you can also do this and this, and don't forget this and this and this. Okay, can I just? It just keeps telling you stuff. And it's just so overwhelming. I didn't care for it. Yeah.
There's a game I was playing, and I think it's Xenoblade because it's got very distinctive voice acting in it.
Yeah.
My girlfriend was doing something in the same room while I was playing it, and there's one of the characters, I think it was just an NPC at a shop or something, said souvenirs like that. And I think it was Xenoblade, and like time went on, and she said, "What game was it where that person went souvenirs?" And I can't for the life of me figure out what game it was. I can only think it was Xenoblade. So if anyone's played Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and can remember a character saying souvenirs, then let me know, because it's driving me mental. I can only think it's one of the shops. There's like a little town where there's all people selling things. I think it must be an NPC in the background trying to sell souvenirs.
Sorry, I just find that so funny. I was also drinking water when you first said it, and I almost spat it out. And the opening bit of the episode, we always put a little thing before the credits. So it's going to be just souvenirs.
We've got
nothing
to find
else.
It, though. I've got to find out what game it was.
Nothing else we say for the rest of the episode will be better than that.
Incoming Indie.
Right, before we go to Stray, I got an incoming indie.
Oh, great!
And I know, everything, all the ones I said in EGX, it's all being incoming indies. But I need to mention this one because it's got a Kickstarter at the moment, which won't be running by the next episode. Although it is 80% funded and it's got like 20 days, so I'm sure it's going to make it. It's called The Big Catch. It's by a Canadian team called Filet Group, and it's just sort of surfaced out of nowhere lately. So yeah, it's on Kickstarter. It's a PS1 style 3D platformer, which you play as an acrobatic fisherman. So and the animation and style just looks absolutely amazing. What are you laughing?
No, I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm laughing because the reason I'm laughing is because when you said the big catch, right? When you said the big catch,
yes.
This is another thing. It's another thing that's just cropped up recently. Have you played Sega Bass Fishing?
I haven't, no, but I know of it.
So Sega Bass Fishing, you're fishing. The commentator will comment on the size of the fish that you've caught.
Yeah.
And I was watching the YouTube video where they were playing the clips from this, and now I keep saying it like this. The way he says it, it'll go like, it'll get a small fish, will go small one, and if you get like a medium-sized one, oh, average size. And if you get a big one, he goes, "Oh, it's a big one." And like every time I get the chance, like let's say my girlfriend say, "Oh, do you want some mushrooms for tea?" I say, "Oh yeah, I'll have some mushrooms for the dinner." Which one do you want? I'll just go, "Small one." I don't know how long I'm going to be able to keep getting away with it before it wears out its welcome, but it just reminded me when you said the big catch. But anyway, carry on.
Fair enough. You've totally thrown me off now, but okay.
Yeah.
I'm still laughing. Oh God! Right, give me a second. That's two really funny things in a row. I need to recover. Okay, I don't even know where I was. So,
okay, you talk. It's a PS1 style.
Yeah, 3D platformer. You play as a very acrobatic fisherman. So the animation, it just looks amazing, really. Very smooth. The gameplay looks really, really smooth. You've got a rod, you can throw at things, you can swing off things with it. Very, very fluid. Really, really nice. You catch fish as well, obviously, but even that looks quite interesting because they sort of drag you along and you've got to maintain control and moving around and stuff. It just looks brilliant. It looks right up my street. Sort of adventure kind of game. I think it's fairly open. The
whole PS1 sort of aesthetic seems to be becoming quite popular now as well, don't it? It's nice to see games sort of trying to capture that look, I think.
It is. Normally I wouldn't have a problem with it. In this example, because it's got like a purposefully low resolution, so you get these sort of jaggy edges, which obviously tickles that nostalgia bone. But in this case, I would say it'd be better off without them because the animation and everything just looks so fluid. It doesn't look like what developers were really capable of doing at the time.
I see what you mean, yeah.
Like the actual stuff that's going on doesn't look like a PS1 game. It looks like a much more modern 3D platformer. It's just got that jaggedy look to it that makes and sort of not super detailed models and polygons and things.
Yeah.
But the actual seeing it in motion, it just looks a lot more modern. So that's the only thing I'd say against it. Really, it just looks fantastic. I haven't backed it yet, but I will do.
Yeah, cool.
It's currently Steam only, but I think there's a Switch version that's quite a far stretch goal. But who knows? It's doing well so far. So yeah, go and check that out. That's called The Big Catch.
Yeah.
How do you do the big one? Do a big one again? What's he say?
Oh, a big one! It's something like that.
I'm going to have to play Sega Bash Fishing now just to hear these.
You're going to have to.
Do you have the fishing rod?
Yes.
Brilliant. I want to get that. Yeah. I don't really have a working Dreamcast, so that's the problem with that.
I think you can get on PC.
Oh, okay. Can you get a working fishing controller for the PC?
I don't know.
I feel like you can't somehow.
Probably not.
No. Oh, well, that's one thing to try out then. So, let's do Stray, shall we?
Okay.
All right. So we'll be back in a minute.
Are we going to take a break?
Yes.
Small one. I was hoping you were going to say, shall we take a break? And then I would do that. But, okay.
We can... All right, let's cut it. Right, shall we take a break?
A small one. Right. Let's not run it into the ground. Let's go.
Go.
The Video Game Book Club.
Welcome back. Today we are talking about Stray, the lovely cat game.
Yeah.
So this was developed by Blue 12 Studios, published by Annapurna Interactive.
Very good. Very good. Textbook.
I'm not going to lie, I had it written down. Release for PS4, PS5 and Windows via Steam in July 2022. The physical version is currently only available for PS5, I think.
No.
Oh, is that incorrect?
It is incorrect.
Oh.
Hot off the press.
Oh, go on then.
They have announced that they're going to be doing a physical PS4 version at retail as well.
Excellent. Very good.
Yes.
Very good. So, but the download version, if you want that, it's on those platforms. Can be had for just a whisker under £25. Or you can get it on PS4 and 5 as part of the new PS Plus service, which is what I did.
Yeah, that's what I did as well.
Yeah. So that's all.
And then cancelled my memberships before the trial ran out.
So you just did that 1 week trial, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought about doing that, but it ran over into after that. So I've got like another 2 or 3 weeks, so I'll play some other games. But to be honest, there wasn't a lot on there that I really wanted to play. To be honest,
I know there's really not. Is there?
I think the Xbox one is I mean, obviously it's been around for a lot longer, but it seems to be a lot more comprehensive, I would say.
It offers a lot more, I think, in terms of value for money. But
there needs to be more sort of general indie games on there and things, doesn't it? But give them time, I suppose they can add more to it. So this is a third-person action-adventure game in which you play as an unnamed realistic ginger stray cat, separated from its feline companions when it falls into a decaying, sealed-off city. The cat soon meets a small amnesia-ridden drone called B12, and the pair go on a journey to restore its lost memories and return to the surface, encountering a society of robots who fear mutant bacteria along the way. So, we first discussed this ages ago on the
long time ago.
On the I think it was the PS5 launch announcement trailer, wasn't it?
It might well have been, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was one of the state of play things, wasn't it?
It was that one where they revealed loads of games that were coming out on PS5, starting with Grand Theft Auto 5, if you remember right.
Yes. Yeah, was it the same one? Yeah, was it the same one with Bugsnax?
Yes, it was the same one with Bugsnax. Yes,
yeah,
so it's quite a while ago. Yeah,
quite a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember you saying it stood out to you as something you'd be really interested in.
Yeah, it appealed to me straight away. I love the look of it and the atmosphere. I thought it looked really good.
Yeah, so that's why you picked it, obviously. Yeah, you play as a cat, and it's kind of in a dystopian world. I suppose I think all the humans are gone, and you find out not too far into it that there's robots left behind, isn't there?
Yeah.
And they're quite human-like, really, aren't they? They're not like robots. They sort of evolved human personalities and things like that.
Yeah.
I wasn't really expecting that. I was expecting them to be more like beep boop kind of robots, but there's a lot of personality, more personality and sort of humour in the game than I was sort of expecting.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a theory about that, but I don't know. It would be going into spoiler territory to discuss that, I think. So, yeah, they, like you say, they don't act like you would expect robots to be like. In particular, there's a father and son who play quite a pivotal role in one of the sections of the game.
Yes.
And you wouldn't think a robot would have a family in that sense, would you?
No, I don't even know how that works, to be honest. But
no.
But it's really nice to see, actually. But yeah, I mean, in terms of gameplay, it's quite a mixture of things, really. It's mostly sort of exploration, adventure kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there's quite a bit of quite tense action. There's puzzles. There's a bit of stealth at the end. It's sort of it's quite a mixture of things, and they gel quite well together. Actually, it's sort of the mood kind of shifts up and down depending on how stressful the thing you're doing is. And I would say definitely longer than the 4 hours that everyone says it takes. It took me like 8 hours, I think, in the end.
I'm going to say my first playthrough, because I played through it a couple of times. I played through it before the last show.
Yeah.
Because that's how I knew I wanted to pick it. Because I played it and I thought that this is something that I think, would fit for our show. I think it's something that we could talk about.
Definitely. Yeah.
And then I played it again to refresh my memory coming into this show. So, I played it through twice. And I would say first time about 7 hours, 7.5 hours.
Yeah, you can do it in 4 hours if you know exactly what to do, I think. But that's
like I said, there's an achievement for doing it under 2 hours.
Oh wow, that's yeah. I mean, but these speedrunners, they're nuts, aren't they? They find all sorts of weird ways of doing things. So.
Yeah,
I really like the general sort of movement system of the cat.
Yeah.
Because it's very, very fluid, as it would have to be if you're being a realistic feline. They're very fluid sort of animals, and you can just sort of hop. It's got quite a nice. It's not really platforming because it's quite guided. Like you'll go to an edge and you'll see the little button icon on the edge that you can jump to, and you just press that and it'll automatically go there. And you've got you sort of hop from one thing to another. And obviously, being a small cat, you can go to places that you wouldn't normally go to as a sort of normal human-sized protagonist. So he's walking on like pipes and things and all sorts of these very narrow ledges and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When you first encounter the robots, they freak out at the sight of you because they think you are these creatures that have evolved from bacteria called the Zerks, and they eventually allow you into their little community. And it's all this city, isn't it? This city that seems to have been left to decay by humans, and all the robots are living there now. Presumably they lived alongside each other at one stage, and I guess the robots have evolved as well.
Yeah.
But they live in this little sort of slum, and to look at it, it does look like quite a depressing place. But there's something quite homely about it. Did you find that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Like they're living in these tiny little apartments, and they've sort of put makeshift things together to make it quite cozy. They got little rugs on the floor. All their stuff is sort of piled up, and the amount of detail that's in this that visually strikes you everywhere you go in this little city is amazing. It's just there's so much stuff around, like whether it's like piles of CRT TVs and all just everything. Like you go into every little apartment and it genuinely feels lived in, like it's got a history of people having spent a long time there, and things are a bit worn out and kind of a bit messy, but they generally look lived in, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. It feels really authentic. It's not. It doesn't feel just like someone's just plonk a table here, so you can climb up on the window. It just feels like really natural environment. Well, as natural as a robotic environment can be, but I mean, it feels really natural.
Yeah, that surprised me. It was something sort of remarkably human about these robots, really, because they are like humans.
Yeah, they are very, very human-like. Yeah. And the way they interact with each other as well. They've all got very distinct personalities. They've developed their own sort of beliefs about because they're all trapped in this city, and there's a group of them who have dedicated themselves. They formed like a little group who want to get outside of the bounds of the city and see what's on the outside. And it's almost like a religious belief for them about what awaits them on the outside. And there's other robots who don't seem to think anything is on the outside, and you should just be happy where you are and make the best of it. And it's really interesting to see although they're robots, they have developed this, a really complex little society there, and you get a real glimpse into it. It's really, really well written.
I also like how well they all get along with each other as well. Like they're living in these terrible conditions, but they're all quite sort of happy. Generally speaking, they don't like argue with each other. They just sort of live alongside, and it's quite this nice little tightly knit community. It's really nice. And you got some like noteworthy characters in there. You got the grandma who's just like constantly knitting stuff.
Yes, out of electrical cables.
Yeah. And there's Morusk, who's the music guy, and there's 8 pieces of sheet music hidden around the slums that you can find and give to him. And then if you give it to him, he'll just play a little song. There's the Doc, who's clearly inspired by the Doc from Back to the Future. I think it's fair to say. And the 2 guys on the roof are just forever throwing paint tins across. I watched them, and the tin just goes to the same position every time. So I was wondering what happens if they start filling up. There's got to be an end to this, right? But it just goes to the same place. Yeah, I love them. They're great. I preferred that to later on. You go to Midtown, which is sort of a step up, where people are, it's a little bit more bustling, a little bit more active, a little bit more, it's just kind of people going about there. It feels like people have got jobs and they've got shops and things.
Just a big city centre type place, nightclubs and...
I didn't like that area as much because it just didn't have that same cosy atmosphere that the slums did.
No.
Which is interesting. I guess that was on purpose, perhaps. I think
it was, because I think the slums tend to, like you say, they got that more cosy feeling, and the Midtown section is a bit more dystopian. It's basically a police state. Everyone's really strictly governed on what they do and where they go, and So I think there was a deliberate change of the tone going between the sections there, but I definitely prefer the little robots in the slums. I think they're
it's really nice. This verges on a spoiler, but I don't think so. Just to say that when you get towards the end, you get a view of everything, sort of from really far away, and you can see all the where the slums are and where the Midtown was. And I just want to say that bit was amazing. Just seeing all these little buildings and seeing, that's where I did that and that's where I did that. It's not often that you play a game and towards the end you get to look back at everywhere you've been.
No,
that was pretty cool.
It's a really special bit of the game, I think, that bit.
Yeah, I won't say any more about the end, obviously, but it's that stood out to me.
No, we should I would like to talk about the end a little bit.
Okay.
So we will give a spoiler warning at some point.
Well, we can do another thing like we do with spoilers, where we just
Yeah.
release it as a separate thing on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we did. So just check the show notes, and you should find a link to it in there. So in those city bits, there's I think there's 12 sort of chapters in the game. Some of them are quite sort of linear routes. There's nothing to do other than just to go through it and get to the other side. And these city areas are more sort of RPG-ish adventure things where there'll be like quest lines, kind of not explicitly that, but in order to progress you'll need to this robot will need something, but in order to that you need to go to another robot to get something, but he can't give you that until you go to another robot to give you, like there's one of the robots had to do something technical, but he was too cold and he needed a jumper. So you needed to go to Grandma to knit, but Grandma didn't have any cables, so you needed to go to the guy that sells the cables, but he wouldn't sell it to you unless you get something else. So it was that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I quite enjoyed.
Yeah, it's pretty good fun. Yeah, it's the same thing. So you'll need to get, I can't remember, you need to get an item from some person, but in order to get them, you need to distract them. So in order to distract them, you need to get a cassette of rap music. That
one took me ages to figure out. Like I found the cassette recorder, so I knew I had to get a cassette. So I thought that was probably what you had to do, but it took me ages to find the guys that have the cassette, because that wasn't obvious to all know that one. Yeah, that's quite tricky. By the way, if you haven't played this, you might be wondering how a cat does all these things, like talks to people and like goes on quests and stuff. Especially when your average cat just couldn't be asked with any of this. To be honest, that was the funny thing I found. Like this cat going on an adventure. I know he's trying to get back to his friends and everything, but if you look at the average cat, they just want to sit around and lick themselves, really, don't they? But he's got a little backpack on him, which has got this B12 cat little robot. He remembers stuff about the city, and he remembers more the more you explore and you find things out. You collect memories, in fact. But he kind of does all the talking, really, doesn't he? He pops out and he talks to the robots for you.
The translator between the robots and the cat.
Yeah, he can also pick things up by sort of digitizing them, I suppose. Like any object you need to pick up, he'll sort of zap it, and that's in your inventory then, which I thought was quite cool. Quite a cool way of getting a cat to hold things, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bits that I enjoyed less in the moment were probably the Zerk stuff.
Yeah.
I in fact, in my notes, one of my most frustrated times, I wrote, "The Zerks can absolutely fuck off." Because they are very stressful at times, those sections.
They are.
They're these little bacterias, these sort of flesh-eating blobs, and they chase you very... a lot. Relentlessly is the word I was thinking of. There's sections where you can just run, and they weren't too bad because you just dodge them and you just get to the end. But the bit where you have to go to the tower, and that was more sort of segmented. So you got to a bit, and there's some Zerks hanging around. But my problem with those ones is you couldn't really see the way out until you get down there with the Zerks and running around and just desperately looking for the bit where you get out of that area, so to a point where they can't follow you. Yeah. And I died quite a lot on those ones. And I was playing this on my PS4 Slim, and I'd imagine this isn't the case for anything better than that, but every time you die it took a good over 30 seconds to get back, to just reload the exact same area you were in, just to get back in there, which was really just sort of breaking the moment, really, I found.
Yeah. It's very playable on the PS4, but I imagine it would benefit a lot from if you got a good powered PC or the PS5 version. I imagine would run really well. It runs on the PS4, but you can tell it's kind of pushing the limit of what the PS4 can do.
The frame rate was a fairly stable 30-ish, I would say. Looking at it, there were sections towards the end where it did start to stutter, and in the nightclub it even crashed on me at one point.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
I didn't get any crashes, luckily. I don't think.
No, that was just one isolated one. I obviously did something weird, and it was an unusual thing, but it's worth noting. So yeah, as you said, it benefits from the best machine you can play it on, but on a PS4 Slim or a PS4 Original, it's perfectly playable. It's fine, But yeah, the Zerks weren't great. The Sentinels towards the end, which represent the sort of stealth sections. They were okay in parts, but when they sort of locate you, they can be pretty stressful too.
Yeah, luckily, most of the places where they can spot you, there's usually a cardboard box in that you can sort of leap into, and then they forget that you're there and wander off again.
Yeah.
So it becomes sort of a case of, I think, plotting your route back to the nearest cardboard box if you get spotted, but it's still that kind of sort of quick panic, isn't it? When the
it's quite awful. I don't really like it. Yeah. Everything goes red and they're quite good shots at you as well. It's quite difficult to dodge their
yeah,
you can do it sometimes.
Whiskers off at 100 paces.
Definitely, yeah. But speaking of the box, it reminds me of what sort of nice cat things you can do in the game. Like
it's the highlight of the game for me. The cat behaviours in it are so spot on.
Yeah, like you can hide in the box, just like, obviously that's a stealth thing anyway, isn't it? Like Solid Snake, you hide in the box. But just because it's just a little box that a cat jumps into, and that's what cats do. They love to sit in a box, don't they?
They love boxes.
Yeah, I don't know why. It must make them feel secure, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really funny. You can scratch stuff, usually for no reason whatsoever. It doesn't actually get you anything. You can just scratch your little claws on like a sofa or something, or a bit of rug.
I have heard the PS5 version uses the adaptive triggers.
Oh, right.
To make it feel more realistic when you're scratching. You get like a bit of resistance on the triggers when you're scratching.
Oh, that's nice.
So, obviously the PS5 is practically a mythical object at this point, but if you are lucky enough to have one, enjoy that scratchy sensation.
Yeah, do. What other, you can curl up for a little nap. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, just random little nap. Doesn't do anything, just curl up for a little nap.
Rub yourself against the robot legs.
Yeah, I had a cat do that to me the other day. It's quite nice, isn't it?
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, rub against people's legs. There's a keyboard at one point where you walk on it and it types the letters in. That was really cool. You can get your head trapped in a bag, and then while you're there, until the cat works it off, the controls are all messed up.
Yeah. So you just sort of wander around in a circle
with a bag on your head. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I mean, I'm struggling to think of other things to say, which is surprising me because I've got a lot of notes, but I can't. It's just.
I think it's one of those games. You have to experience it. It's about the overall experience of the game. I think you can. It's more than the sum of its parts, isn't there? If you break it down, you say, it's a linear thing. You can jump here and you can do that, and there's some robots and things like that. It all sounds like, well, it's nothing I haven't really played before. But then when it's all put together and you actually play it, and I think it's the character of the little cat as well. It's all his little mannerisms. It's all his body language is so perfect. The way he interacts with the cats at the beginning, the way he plays with his friends, and it's just everything about it is so spot on. He's just this adorable little thing. I loved it. I really loved it. Like you mentioned, the little backpack he's got on. Even when he first puts that backpack on, and he sort of slumps on this side, and then
it's too heavy for him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just everything on it is just pitch perfect. The little cat behaviours.
Yeah. I think I read that most of the developers had cats, as you would imagine.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously, it's made. It's inspired by real cats. You wouldn't make this game if you didn't like cats or you didn't have a cat. So
no. I would say if you do love cats, there are some quite harrowing sections in this game though, where seeing the cat get injured and limp around, and it's very heart wrenching when he finds himself in a bad spot.
Oh yeah.
And maybe I'm just sensitive, but. Broke my heart. The ending, especially, I really plucked at the heartstrings for me. The ending,
yes, it does.
But the beginning, where he falls down into the into the underground city, and he's sort of clinging on, and his little mates are looking over the edge at him. Oh god!
Yeah,
poor little thing.
I know, it's quite sad, isn't it?
It's so sad.
Yeah. I just feel so at that point, particularly before he meets B12, you just feel for him because he's just so lost. He doesn't know where he is. He's wandering around this weird place he's never seen before. Yeah,
and he's all hurt and alone, and yeah. But it's just a great little game. I think I can't think of many games where you play as a cat other than Blinks the Time Sweeper.
Yeah, and certainly not a realistic cat.
No.
Like I can't think of any really.
I can't think of any.
Yeah.
But I think so. It's not like there's a lot of competition, but I think they really nailed. I mean, if you were going to try and make a game that emulates what it would be like to control a cat, they've done it perfectly. It's just really, really good.
I think there's a lot of mileage in cat-based games, realistic cat-based games.
Yeah.
I mean, this is obviously set in a world that is a dystopian world. It's got a sci-fi world. It's not a really realistic world like ours. But I'd love to see like a cat, almost like a cat simulator. Where you just you go around your normal route and you find another cat and you have a little Barney with him and you go and steal his food and you just because they're hilarious. They do such funny things. They
do. I love cats. We're looking after a cat at the moment.
Are you? Brilliant.
We're looking after little Daphne at the moment.
Oh, lovely.
Little Daphne, little tuxedo, black and white cat.
Ah.
She's lovely. She's just really nice. It's just funny watching her go about. She's quite old now. She's about 18, so we think she's got a bit of arthritis in her back legs, and she gets a bit of dandruff because she can't clean herself properly. We need to brush her, but she's lovely. She gets in the box, and that's about it really, because she's old. But she loves that box.
Yeah, they are funny, aren't they? We've never actually owned a cat, but we lived near one that used to come in our house a lot. She used to sleep on our spare bed. Used to just come in immediately, scratch on the sofa. So we put a scratching post where she used to do it. She's called Buttons. She's a lovely ginger and white cat. And she used to just parade around as if it were her own house, it was hilarious,
Yeah.
And that got me, because I didn't really, growing up, I was never really an animal person. I think because I get it from my mum's side of the family who are never really animal people. And I wasn't really that into cats until I met Buttons, and now I quite like cats a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it's just, it's definitely a game for you if you have a cat, and if you like cats, it's, it should be top of your list, really. If you don't like cats,
I'd still play it. It might make you like them. It's
still a good game, yeah, and it might make you like them. Absolutely, it's still a perfectly good game, really. Yeah, and it's just, aside from the cat thing, the overall atmosphere of the game is just incredible, really. Like we were talking, particularly in that slums city and everywhere else, really. But it's just so atmospheric. Also, the music. I didn't expect it to be as standout as it is, actually, because it's environmental and it goes with the mood of things. And normally with those kind of things, the music is just in the background. It's literally just background music. You don't really even notice it. But there was some really quite nice music in there. It was still very serene, very pleasant. And also it's punctuated by just little 8-bit ditties sometimes as well. Like you'll go to somewhere and there'll be a little radio playing like a little sort of robot-y kind of 8-bit tune that's quite catchy, and also the guy that does the music, that music is a bit like that as well.
Yeah.
So it has a really good soundtrack as well.
Yeah, the whole production, because this is their first game as a team, and
I think so.
12 team.
Yeah.
I say it's amazing. I think it is, because if you go on their website, they've got like the whole development blog back from like when they came up with the idea.
Yeah, I read that they do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And they've been working on it for like 6 or 7 years. And it's
you can tell like the it's a labour of love. I think.
Yeah,
it's just,
exactly.
Like just the sheer amount of detail in every event. They've thought about every single square meter of that entire game and thought, what would how does this robot live? What sort of stuff is down this sewer? Everything is just. It looks like it's been made by a proper full-on AAA team almost. It's got the same look to it. It doesn't look any less detailed than a full 100-strong team working on it. But
graphically, it's one of the best-looking games of this generation I've seen.
And it's made by a relatively small team, and it's just outstanding. I know you can do a lot these days with 3D graphics, and there's a lot of tools to help you and engines and so forth. But even so, it still takes a lot of work to do all that stuff, and it's very good. Really,
and
really
to make
impressive.
it feel, cohesive and real and lived in, like you said earlier. That's the real that's the secret sauce of it. I think you can have Unreal Engine 5 and Unity do all the reflections and everything for you and the lighting effects and everything like that, but the real skill is in putting that all together to make it feel like a real place. And I think that they've really cracked that. Yeah,
how you even do that as well? It's just. The thought that goes into that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got one reference here. There's an Elder Scrolls reference in one of the
Oh, yes, there is.
There's a robot that says, "I used to own a bar around here until I took a screwdriver in the knee." Fantastic. It's just humour, just little bits like that make it a lot more humorous than you think it might be. Because obviously the cat lends itself to being a bit humorous here and there, but just that those robots, they're brilliant. You know, they'll say things like this, and they've got so much personality. It's their little faces as well. All their faces are like a screen, like a square screen, and they can do different like facial expressions, like different graphics and things on there as well. So that brings them quite a bit more personality as well.
Yeah, they're brilliant. They're brilliant. If they brought out some merch, like a little statue of the cat with one of the robots,
yeah,
I'd buy that.
Oh yeah,
I'd buy that in an instant.
That'd be lovely, wouldn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Is it doing well? I think I've heard a lot. You know,
I think so. I don't. I mean, I don't know how it's doing on consoles, but I know it was on the Steam top seller list for a good few weeks after after release. So it was selling steadily and quite a lot. So hopefully, if that's reflected on the console side of things as well, and the physical pre-orders and things, I think it should be. I hope it does well.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. I think my wife mentioned. No, I think I said. I can't remember which way around it was, whether I said we were playing this game first or whether she mentioned it, but she said that it was a clue in the Times crossword recently,
really?
Or something like that, or I think they have like some quiz questions, and one of them was about Stray, and I thought, I must have made it to some extent if it's in the Times, puzzles and things.
Yeah.
So it deserves to do well though, because it's really good. It's one of those sort of standout games of the generation, I think, really.
Yeah, I would agree, yeah. I've heard people criticise it for being linear.
Oh,
I think,
piss off.
Yeah.
Honestly, just get out now. Honestly.
I was going to put it more diplomatically than that, but
no, they can piss off. They can piss off.
Well said.
A game can be as linear as a ruler, and it can still be a great game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to complain about the linearity of it is to miss, all the charm of the game, and to miss the point of the game and the story and what the things it's trying to convey and the emotions it's trying to convey. I think to get hung up on linearity is to do the game and yourself a disservice, really.
Arguably, I think you can tell a better story with a linear thing anyway, because you're directing a player down a particular story. It's like reading a book, it takes you on a journey. If you've got the freedom to jump in and out of that journey and miss bits and do bits in the wrong order, then it's not going to hit you as much as it really,
No, agreed. Yeah.
So for next month, I want to do a Super Nintendo game, because we haven't really done many of them.
Okay.
And also, from a selfish point of view, I wanted something quite small and simple to allow me to play other things and do other stuff over the next month. So I had a few that I was thinking of. I only settled on the one that I was going to do today. It's a game called Sky Blazer. Have you heard of it?
Okay. No, I haven't heard of it. I thought it'd rung a bell, but I'm thinking of ActRaiser, which is a different thing.
That's another one I was thinking of doing, but I've gone for this because it's just a little bit shorter and simpler.
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with this at all.
Well, it sounds like some sort of aerial combat game, doesn't it? There's nothing like that at all. It's a platformer.
Oh, right, okay.
It's I think a fairly standard sort of platformer, but I've played. It was something I just randomly found in my list of ROMs. I gave it a little go. And I thought, this is quite good. I've never heard of this. And I think it's a bit of a hidden gem. It's something you don't hear talked about very much. Sort of, it's not as remarkable as something like Stray or anything like that, but it just felt like a good, solid little platformer. So I thought we'd give it a go. May or may not have a lot to say about it, but, it's just something. Because we don't really do a lot of these sort of quite standard games, from this era in particular. I think perhaps because there's not always a lot to say about them, but we've had games in the past where we thought we wouldn't say a lot about it, but we ended up talking quite, finding some things. So, I thought neither of us know hardly anything about it. We'll give it a go, see how it turns out.
Yeah, sounds like a good plan to me.
Good. Why don't you run through all the socials and things?
Well, here's the thing. If you want to visit us, right? If you got the old Twitter, the old Bird app, we're at podemup.
We are.
If you want to visit us on the internet websites,
the worldwide superhighway net thing.
The super high net. It is podemup.live.
Yeah.
We're not live, but
no, we're not live.
It's catchy, so it's good. And if you want to email us, it's podemup@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's right. podemup@gmail.com. And please do email us.
Yeah, do.
We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Especially if you know where the souvenirs thing comes from.
Souvenirs?
Yes, exactly.
Please tell us.
I need to know, and I'm not going to play through Xenoblade Chronicles again.
God no.
Just to see if I can hear that sound clip. And you can't Google it. You try Googling souvenirs NPC. You get nothing.
Yeah. What about if you put a load of E's in there? Souvenirs?
Maybe that's where I've gone wrong.
Yeah, try that. Try every sort of combination of number of E's you can put in there and see what happens. Did you ever find that game that you were looking for, that platformer where you rotate the angle?
No.
Did you not?
No, I did not. No.
Still looking for that one. So that's another thing to add to the list of things
honestly,
you're looking for.
Yeah. Podemup's Most Wanted.
Yeah, we should do that, shouldn't we? Just the list of things that we've mentioned that we don't know what they are.
We'll put a little bounty on them. Little bounty, a little token reward for anyone who finds these little gems.
Yeah. That round that we remembered, you did a competition in the month, didn't you?
Yeah.
What was I can't remember what you gave. Oh, it's like Steam.
Some Steam keys. So Crusader Kings 3 and the Amulet of
something or other.
Something.
Yeah, people got well into that, didn't they? Actually?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was quite pleased with that.
That was a really successful comp. That was so. We should think about doing more things like that. You got quite Steam mad at that point. You were giving away keys left, right, and centre there, weren't you?
Yeah. The thing was, I can't remember. I got a thing. Oh, yeah. There was a Humble Bundle about. It was like some games that are supposed to teach you like programming principles and things like that. As you play the game, you pick up on like programming things. It really appealed to me, so I got that bundle. And then I looked at my. If you go into your Humble Bundle account, you can see all your unredeemed keys.
Oh yeah.
And I just had loads. I just had loads of them that either didn't interest me or that I already had. So I just thought I'd just dump them all on and see. But the other one because I picked up the Humble Choice, which is like their monthly premium thing, because you can just do it. You can just buy it as a one-off now. You don't have to subscribe for like a year or something.
Oh right.
So I bought that for, I can't remember. There was one game in there. I think it might have been Just Cause or something. And it had these other ones with it that I'm never going to play. They don't appeal to me. So I just thought, let's try and.
We might as well
share them out.
Share them out, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I should do the same actually, because I've probably got loads as well.
Yeah, I've run out now, so my the Steam tap has been turned off now, unfortunately. But if I come across any more from future bundles, then you keep an eye on our Twitter feed, because that's where I'll be posting them. Yeah, so
that's a reason to follow us if you weren't doing it already. Yeah, you might get some free stuff.
Free stuff.
Cool. Well, I think we've said everything that we need to say, really, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's been an interesting one. It just fell apart in the middle there, but it's very entertaining.
I hope so.
Oh, yeah. Well, from my perspective, I don't know if the listeners probably turned it off by now, but yeah, we had a good time. Right, we'll see you next month for episode 47, where we're talking about Skyblazer and probably some other stuff. So see you then. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
small one.